Welcome. We're back again today to discuss some topical ideas and concepts with some of our experts. And today I'm with Philipp Tölle. Philipp is a solution architect with B3I, seconded from Swiss Re. He's currently driving forward the B3I network vision and is actively building bridges into the IT organizations of Swiss Re and B3I and other members. So Philipp, today we're going to talk about authentication and authorization. So just to kick things off, can you just explain to us what is authentication and how is it different to authorization?
So thank you, Ken, for the introduction. Thank you very much. Usually, IT uses many complex terms, but this can be answered very, very easily. Authentication is the answer to the question, who are you? And authorization is the question, what are you allowed to do? So they're usually used in the same context, but they're essentially two separate things because they are two separate answers to two different questions.
Okay, thanks. So how do they fit in the context of what we're talking about in the context of blockchain?
So in the context of B3I in specific, we have the challenge that we are building an enterprise system for not only one client, but for hundreds, potentially thousands of clients that all use the same software, but they all have different requirements. And the way how B3I did build the solution is that we are able to separate out the concerns of defining the answer of who you are, but only to provide a mechanism to specify who you are outside of the system that we are deploying across the B3I network.
Right, so let's just delving a little bit more into the detail of how this B3I solution is being implemented. So what does that look like?
So B3I wants to follow here the concept of open standards in order to be able to abstract away the complexity of different organizations' internal organizational structures and identity management solutions. And we chose to adapt the JWT standard as a way to provide a data carrier for all the information that is needed for the system, for the B3I system, to know who the person that tries to, for example, create a reinsurance agreement is.
So if I try to put it in simplistic terms for my own benefit, you're basically making sure that the right people are allowed to do the right things on the platform. That's the principle of the authorization.
The authentication in this case.
Of the authentication.
Exactly. So because we only at the moment, we want to have the answer, who are you? Are you allowed to create a reinsurance agreement for your company in the node that is deployed to your data center?
So having authenticated me, the next stage is you then going to authorize me to do things.
Exactly, that's the second step.
Okay, so in terms of authentication in this distributed environment, what are the unique challenges that you face?
So in the distributed environment, we need to deploy the same software across all the network, but we cannot configure the software from the vendor's point of view for each company, for each client, because we just don't know all the requirements. So we chose to abstract away that piece of complexity. We provide an open interface, the JWT standard, where people can provide the token in a specific way with the container, who they are and what they're allowed to do. And then we just verify that the token has been produced by the right company. We use cryptography for doing that. Okay. And then we let the process or the request travel through our system and capture necessary information in the audit record attached to each reinsurance agreement, for example.
So the token is acting a little bit like a key.
It is.
To open the door.
It is. Yeah, right. That's the idea behind the key.
And this process that you're adopting is in effect allowing the client to make his own tailoring, to tailor things for himself.
Exactly. So B3I provides the information of what that key needs to look like. Okay. A certain standard format, which follows the OpenID Connect standard. It also standardizes the conversation, how you get the token and how you push the token into the system. Mm-hmm. And also there's also some RFCs involved, so there's a lot of common standards already deployed out in the internet today. People might know of companies like Auth0 or when you log in to Spotify, you can authenticate with Facebook, with your Facebook login. We're basically using the same foundational technology in order to provide a clear interface to our clients.
Okay, so we talked a little bit about the unique challenges for the authentication. So similarly, what are some of those unique challenges for authorization if they're different?
They're partly different, partly common. In authorization, we will need to be able to answer questions: is this underwriter allowed to just by himself sign a treaty above $20 million? But B3I doesn't make the rules if an underwriter is allowed to sign a treaty with a limit of above 20 million. That's a rule that the regulator gives to the reinsurance company, for example, outside of the shared platform. That's specific to the location and to the company and to the legal environment where the client sits. And here, also B3I can only provide a clear interface, describe the way of how you can configure those privileges in the outside, and then we take those privileges in the token, they travel with the token, and then we would disallow if the privileges do not fit the set that we require.
So in the entire process, B3I is really just providing a fabric for people to do things, and it's very much, they're self-serving in this
Exactly,
sense.
yes, exactly.
Okay. That sounds very efficient, at least for B3I.
And we do that, we don't have any other choice, because otherwise we would not be able to serve our clients with functionality, but only we would travel the world and take 100, 200, 300, 400 different types of requirements for what are you allowed to do, and would not be able to produce a product for them, but only deal with the simple question of what are you allowed to do. And this is, again, it goes back to the same principle. We provide an open interface, we document it, we allow people to make their own configurations, and as long as they adhere to the standard, to the interface standard that we define, then we can guarantee that, then we can also provide certain guarantees on ROC employees trying to escalate the rights, for example. But this can only happen in the defined environment of the standards that we are setting and implementing.
Okay, thanks very much for that explanation, Philipp. Just to summarize, can we just revisit this open standards principle and how B3I is applying it?
So in the scenario where B3I does not provide the identity provider, which is the component in a company usually used for answering questions: who are you, what are you allowed to do? The key you talked about before is structured according to the request for common standard 7519. It's an open internet standard, and the way which describes of how you get such a key, so the conversation order, is defined by the OpenID Connect standard based on the OAuth 2 standard, common standard applied in internet. It is used, for example, every time when you log into Spotify, when you say you want to log in with Facebook, then in the backend, the token from Facebook is coming via the OpenID Connect standard.
Okay, that's very helpful. So really, we're not inventing anything new here. It's actually, these are existing standards that we're applying.
Exactly, because especially in the area where security is of sensitivity, we don't want to reinvent the wheel. We want to take things off the shelf that have been battle proven, that have been tested by the industry, and just reuse and apply them in an open way. And we make this transparent to our clients. In this way, our clients can easily take standard products off the shelf and integrate with our solution.
Well, that's all very, very interesting. Philipp provides us with a little bit of insight of all the functionality that we're building in as we continue on this journey that we're on. Thank you very much for your time explaining that to us. I hope our listeners have been able to glean something from that. But I'm sure if they have any questions, they can pass them through, and you'll be delighted to communicate.
Oh, sure, always happy to answer.
Great insights. Thanks again, Philipp.
You're most welcome. Thank you very much.